Today it's time for an extensive Autobahn test of the Tesla Model Y. How good is it on the German motorway? How does it rate against the Tesla Model 3? How does it rate against the competitors like the VW ID.4 GTX? We'll all find out here in Autogefuehl with Thomas. Let's go! In the front, the typical sleek Tesla design. Everything set on wind efficiency, and yes, they are indeed very efficient overall. That leads to a high range. Soon more to that. With 4.75 meters or 187 inches, the Tesla Model Y is a little bit longer, wider, and of course higher than the Model 3. And main change is that the Tesla Model 3 is mainly based on a steel chassis. This one here, like the S and the X, based on an aluminum chassis, an all new one. And also for the other rear and front parts, they use this so-called giga casting. So that means less parts overall for the chassis. That makes the riding better as for the chassis rigidity. So definitely stiffer body, and we'll see how that one plays out in the driving part very soon. This will be very interesting. 19 or 20 inch wheels for the long range model, which we have here today. All-wheel drive, one electric motor in the front, one in the rear. Performance model will also get 21 inch wheels. These here are the 20 inch wheels. However, if you want the best comfort, stick with the smallest wheels available. Black door handles and also black frames around. This has been changed also for the Model Y now, if you could get it before. Now the first time we can also get ones in Germany. These here are the Shanghai built models so far, and of course when the Gigafactory close to Berlin is finished, then this will also be built in Germany. This will also be very exciting. We'll keep you updated with that. In the rear, definitely a small Tesla Model X, definitely, but I think the shapes then work definitely better, so it looks a little bit more elegant than the more bulky X in the rear here. As for the acceleration figures, here for the long range model, all-wheel drive, 5 seconds to 1 km an hour or 4.8 seconds to 60 miles an hour. And for the performance model, it's 3.7 seconds to 1 km an hour or 3.5 seconds to 60 miles an hour. However, this one here, I can tell you from the driving part, is already really quick. And what's the top speed? Yeah, we did find out today in the driving part. Look out forward to that. Turning indicators, by the way, in the front, they are very visible. In the rear, they are smaller, however, not as small as with the Model 3. So this is definitely an improvement. With the Model 3, we often saw horrible panel gaps, the famous German Spaltmaße. But here, look at that, here in that Model Y, Shanghai built, that all looks really good and sophisticated. So nothing to complain here at all. This one also here with a very smooth transition, so this is not topsy-turvy, and here once again very well aligned. And what else is important? HEPA filter is included, heat pump is included, 14 speakers for that sound system also included. It makes it so easy to configure such a Model Y. It's not the cheapest one from the entry price, but then again the price also doesn't go up, and so they make it really easy for the customer to pick a vehicle. Then just pick the color, interior, color, and that's basically it. Oh, and if you get a towing hook, 1.6 tons or 3,500 pounds of towing capacity. 77 kilowatt hours for that battery here, checked it in the papers. And here is a charging port, 270 kilowatt max at the Tesla supercharger. As a car key, you get these key cards, but you can also order a real key fob from the shop. I would recommend you to do that, otherwise use your smartphone. Then door handles fold like this, and yeah, not the most practical, but they are also integrated and feel actually quite good. So then door closing sound, not most sophisticated, but actually quite good for a frameless door vehicle, so it's okay. And what's really interesting is this here in the front is, you can see it right there, dual insulation glass. Instead of the door, soft touch here, then we have this matte wood insert, and so many of you guys said, yes, there's also the white interior available, which then has this bright insert, and I would just like to see the white interior with the bright wood, and yeah, so many people wished for that. Maybe Elon, listen to our community here. Then inside microfiber here as well, soft touch here too. This is then the emergency handle, the manual one, otherwise you open the door right here then from the inside. And once again, black or white interior, all leather red, all animal free, way to go Tesla. So no animal cruelty for this model when you buy it. really awesome job to make it standard and the only option. Steering wheel, also everything simplistic. Left side for volume, right side you press it for the voice control, for example, and of course everything else in that screen. Seating position is not uncomfortable, however the seats themselves, they could be a little wider and longer, especially for taller people, so not really that suitable if you're just a little bit taller. So they could work on that, but the base ergonomics are actually quite okay, and headroom here, 1.86 or 6'1", it's actually way more than enough because they just have this fixed panoramic roof. What I really like about this interior is that it's so simplistic and that really calms you down. On the other hand, either instruments or head-up display would be cool, so otherwise you just see the speed here in the upper left corner, and it's okay, you do get along, however it would still be good. Yes, yeah, Steven wouldn't have the seatbelt on. Bing, bing, bing. It would be better to have either digital instruments or a head-up display as an option. So come on, Elon. Other than that, here 2 inductive charging pads for your phones, and also with a nice microfiber cover, and a lot of space here in the middle console right there. Couples, they are not adaptive though, and here also underneath a lot of space, so that's really good. So you feel as it would be quite spacious. And once again, the build quality here, meanwhile soft touch here in the front, the great matte wood here. Build quality has been so topped up if you compare to earlier Tesla models, so the interior build quality is meanwhile definitely premium. And definitely a lot to discover in that screen here. First of all, as for the energy consumption, that is very interesting. So this is more here with some, city, rural traffic, driving slowly, not much on the motorway, and if motorway a little bit slower, then we like 13 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So that's some 22 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. I just changed that in the display. Wow, that's amazing. And that would rather mean some like 600 kilometers or 350 miles of range. However, if you include more Autobahn and so on, it rather goes down towards 400 kilometers and 250 miles. Soon you'll also see, in our driving part, a graph where we have more Autobahn share. So that really depends on how and where you drive. This car is capable of great efficiency, but at some point, of course, when it goes speedy on the motorway, it is reduced. Then temperature control is down here, and you can slide it like this, and of course with the voice control, set temperature to 20 degrees. Like this, or I'm cold. Then it also increases, so you have different possibilities. Still, I'm a fan of manual climate dials, but this is again about this whole reduction of everything. The camera is really cool. I just still can't get over it why it has a different light temperature here for the side cams. I really don't get that. Do you? Then here in display you can set different modes, for example, also a screen clean mode, and you can wipe at everything with a microfiber towel without hold to exit. Yes, exit in 3, 2, 1. Let's go back to the screen. Display mode, by the way, also has a night mode like this. So this is quite fancy, because when you see later on in the driving part, it depends on the time when it's switching. And it switched right after our driving part. That was very interesting. So before it was kind of like too bright. So good to have also this night mode. It switches again automatically, but maybe a little bit earlier would be cool. So here, of course, then more with the daytime driving mode. So many things to discover right there. What's always important, that usually I have the acceleration set to chill, because it's just more chilly in the ride, and the standard acceleration is really fast. You will see that very soon. Oh yeah, and then with the steering wheel and mirror control, that to do it here and then over the steering wheel, not the most practical thing. And of course also with the glove box, why just, you don't have like a normal glove box control? That would be definitely cooler. Rear bench, first of all, soft touch here at the rear of the doors. That's great. Also microfiber inserts. So this is really premium quality here for the interior. Then it's not the longest vehicle, but definitely enough legroom here, and there's no middle tunnel whatsoever, so really using this EV platform. Headroom also enough left, because you have this panoramic roof. That looks really cool, but yeah, it does get hot in hot days. But overall, comfortable seating position here for the rear. As for adjusting the rear part here, you see you can put it like this, more upright, but then you can also put it a little bit more backwards. So that's actually possible to have a more like, leaning back position. Here in the middle part, you can also easily sit as an tall adult, 2 USB-C charger, and yeah, hardly ever we see that it's so well executed that there's no middle tunnel whatsoever really using this EV platform. Here in the middle part, you can also fold out some cup holders. They are also adaptive actually, and actually a very wide middle console here, so it's kind of relaxing and also for the rear passengers. And also in this model right there, panel gaps very well aligned on the interior, and here for example for these hangers, click, click, nice clicking sound, soft dampened, so indeed more and more premium interior details. Today it's time to measure the trunk with my new dual ruler here. So centimeters on one side, inch on the other side, and also in the black style now, because yeah, Gmail offers it now, Tesla offers it on the display, Apple also offers a dark mode, so yeah, for maybe better contrast. So here the length is 1 meters and 10 or 43 inches. That's very good. Then here in the width, let's see, so the width right here is 95 centimeters, or yeah, we can very well switch it around then, or 37 inches, also well usable. And the overall height right there, because there's no cover anyway, this then here at 28 inches or here 70 centimeters. And you can very well fold the seats from here already, so it's a very good function here. Electric control, that's the way, that's the way. Hashtag movie quote or series quote. Then there we go. Yeah, it's almost at this 2 meters mark, so 1 meters 90 here to my driving position, or 76 inches. So very well usable, and there's hardly any big difference to the Tesla Model X, for example. Here, big space underneath. You can put also your cabin trolley in there, and also have it here like standing upright. So this is very, very convincing what we see here. You can see the hatch opens really, really wide with 1 meters 86 or 6 foot. I can stand underneath it, and if I want to secure it in a position that it doesn't hit the roof of my basement garage, same as we know from other vehicles, you just press and hold the closing button. For example, you put it manual in this position and then press and hold, and then it will next time just go up to this position. So that's definitely also a good thing to have. However, it does not have this sensor like the Model X has. Then, child safety test. Was a little bit weird that direction, but it did work. And then let's listen to the closing sound when it really closes. Yeah, it's a little bit loud, but this one was actually quite good. But sometimes I had it was like, really like slamming it through. This time was better. I'm not sure why. It's like sometimes differently. Let's try it again. Maybe it was just like a one-time thing. Yeah, this one was quite okay. Not very sophisticated, but still quite okay. Well, and of course there is a Frunk, and a quite spacious one. And you can, for example, store additional charging cables in here. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge. Today, electric Autobahn driving lounge. And let's first start with the fuel economy, well, the energy economy, of course, for the EVs. So my long-term average now is like some 18, 19 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer. So something like 29, 30 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. Short term, a little bit better. You see here when I also have some topography changes in the city and so on, and more city driving. So that means actually when you have a lot of Autobahn, a lot of motorway share, like 100 kilometers an hour, 120 kilometers an hour, 60, 70 miles and so on, you more get to this 400 kilometers of range or 250 miles of range. When you have more city traffic share and more using these advantages of the EVs, topography changes, stop and go and so on, and really go like a super efficient run, 500 kilometers or 300 miles of range, that's possible theoretically, but when you more drive it like a German, rather not. Then it's more like 400 kilometers or 250 miles. And what do I mean by that? It's to follow right now. So let's check this out, the acceleration, and well, the display is quite bright. I mean, it looks brighter than it actually is, so let me tune it down. So on camera it looks even brighter than it actually is here now. I'm in the standard driving mode, and I'm starting here from 30 kilometers an hour, long range all-wheel drive model. there's nothing coming, so empty at motorway. This is what you deserve, guys. Let's go. Woo! 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and I mean, this is going even faster here. You see here, let's see if we can get it to top speed. And that should be now. Oh, 219 kilometers an hour, it says now. That's the top speed. And wow, I mean, lane change here, kind of stable. But then again, when we have these waves, it shakes up a little bit. Steering is really sporty, so I have to be very precise and subtle with the steering wheel. Of course, suspension is not set on a node where you have like super sporty control over the car. It shakes up notably again when you are in these waves. Noise insulation wise, as for the wind noises, that was actually quite good. And by the way, here I did not use the brakes at all. That was just recuperation. So you see here very strong recuperation from the vehicle, and also, you know, look at that. That totally exceeds the figures. Look at that, look at that. So it exceeds the figures here from recuperation, and it also exceeds the figures as for acceleration for the consumption and negative consumption, basically. Wow. Yeah, sorry about that. So that happens on a test here with Thomas and Autogefuehl. Here in the tunnel, you can see, yeah, no ambient lighting at all whatsoever. A little bit at the feet, or you know, but you can hardly see that. And the display is here really tuned down, but still it's a little bit bright. And yeah, even, you know, especially on that camera, you can see it's actually a little bit too bright maybe at that stage. There is this auto mode, but I have set the display brightness already to 0%. Yeah, and even in the auto mode, it decides to go for this one. Very interesting. So as for noise and so on, I really have to say, once again, they worked on the noise insulation of the vehicles in general, and the Tesla Model Y is so far the best Tesla, I really have to say, in so many respects. And here, 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, typical motorway speed. It's very silent as for the noise from wind and tire roll and so on. When does it get loud? When you're driving over some bumps. So anything that comes from the suspension. So when you're going in potholes, like bam, you feel it and you hear it. 20-inch wheels here. I do recommend to go with the 19-inch wheels here with this model, and also not to go for the performance model. You've seen the performance here. It's a great performance when you take just around 5 seconds for this acceleration, even a little bit less in the miles per hour, 60 miles per hour figure. That's more than enough, you know. And here, the car is really sporty, again, precise steering wheel. Wow, great acceleration out of the corner from the 2 electric motors, front and the rear. The car is so much fun, you know. So here, lane change. Wow, it feels like a go-kart, although it's an SUV. The only thing, you know, really high speed, then, you know, didn't feel that safe actually, because it was shaking up too much. But we can't expect it from the vehicle. It's not meant to do that, and it's not the task, you know. So this car does not have to be stable at 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. No one will ever drive that except me in Germany. So yeah, so 99% of the customers will not use that. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how long is it even still allowed in Germany, for example, you know. Still, we do these tests here to really be able to compare the vehicles, how they perform at, you know, certain limits and certain things. And wow, this car is really giving me a lot of driving fun. This I really love about it. That's very cool. And when you now compare the competitors, like the VW ID4 GTX or the Skoda Enyaq ADX or the Audi Q4 e-tron in the all-wheel drive trim, for example, the Ford Mustang GT, Ford Mustang E GT. So they are all a lot of fun because you have the instant torque, and this one here is not less fun whatsoever. Really good, as I said, great handling. Also then from the acceleration. The only thing is really the suspension. So if you have the 19-inch wheels, it's maybe a little bit better because you have a little bit more dampening from the tire. But always when you're going over some, some lines on the road, some potholes and so on, you hear it like boom, and you also feel it. The suspension, how it reacts to, uneven roads, that's not good at all. So this is kind of, so many things about this vehicle were really good. Big problem definitely, no instruments, no head-up display. You can get along with this and the speed here, but it's not ideal. It's not good, Head-up display or instruments, at least one of this is definitely missing. That's the one thing. And the other thing is definitely the suspension. This is where this still separates itself from the German competitors. The infotainment system with Tesla is way better. The suspension is way worse than with the Germans. One more acceleration, guys, let's go. Woo! That gives you the kick. That was from 80 kilometers an hour, and now you see, wow, that goes really in here. 180 kilometers an hour is still reasonably silent here as for the wind noise. So again, as for this respect, really nicely done, and it still handles now quite well, this high-speed corner. So it also handles so much better than all the other Teslas. So this new aluminum chassis and with a giga casting, where you have like less pieces from the whole chassis, especially on how the front and the rear parts are being attached and so on. This has a big effect. So way less flexing you feel, especially if you compare it to the Model 3. The Tesla Model 3 feels, like it is flexing all over the place from the chassis the whole time. And this one here definitely feels more elaborated. I just wish they would have done more to the suspension. We've seen it with Tesla over the years, that they keep improving and improving and improving. So this kind of gives me hope that they also do something about the suspension. Maybe even of an air suspension here, like they do for the X and the S here in the Model Y, or some adaptive dampers or something. I don't know, that would be something. So like the VW ID4 GTX, which is one of the main competitors, definitely offers adaptive suspension. The Ioniq 5, by the way, does not offer adaptive suspension. So this is something, more towards the Volkswagen Group, where the Enyaq and also the Q4 e-tron do offer this adaptive suspension. The Kia EV6 has also more sophisticated suspension. I talked to the suspension manager recently from Kia, and they did something, like they changed a lot compared to the Ioniq 5. I will tell more about that when we drive the Kia EV6, definitely. This will be very interesting. But here definitely, once again, driving-wise, reveals the suspension is the weakness of this vehicle. And as long as the road is even and good, that's fine. But a lot of you guys are from countries or from certain regions, and even when your country is kind of rich, there are always somewhere bad roads you can complain about, So this is something, they can definitely improve even more. But still, however, a lot of fun in the driving, and it becomes even more apparent, when I took over this vehicle. I drove there in a Mercedes GLE in the AMG. Yes, it's a segment higher, definitely, but it has an AMG tuned suspension and 22-inch wheels. So the air suspension there was tuned like super stiff. And I switched to this one and thought like, what is this kind of suspension? Like more like, whoa. So, and this kind of revealed all the difference, So, it's very interesting that we can really find out more about that, but everything else, like steering performance, which you can also still set, if you wanted a little bit more feedback here, or if you wanted a little bit softer and so on, you can adjust that. Acceleration wise, once again, really cool. Oh, the display is again so bright, at least in the camera. Again, it appears brighter on camera because the iris is adjusting to that. And fun wise, and how slalom wise it behaves. This is so much better than the Model 3, once again. When I'm doing slalom in the Model 3, it's fun. It kind of feels go-kart-alike, but it feels like plastic go-kart-alike, like flexing go-kart. This one here feels like aluminum go-kart, where you do the slalom, do your thing, and it does not flex. And that's really cool. And This one here does not look like a performance vehicle from the outside at all. It doesn't have an AMG badge, doesn't have an M badge, doesn't have an Audi RS badge. Still, when someone is behind you here and you do like this, like, you're gone. You had like a motorcycle, you know? And everyone's like, what was that? What the hell? It's like, is this kind of like super sports car or what is it? No, it's a Tesla Model Y. Yeah, that's definitely a fun thing. By the way, about this harsh acceleration, when I'm here alone now, I know like, okay, now the acceleration is coming. I have the steering wheel in my own hand. I'm used to these speeds. I've driven so many different racetracks and so on, and G-forces, and did I talk about that? I rather grew up riding motorcycles. I drove motocross before I had a driver's license, actually. So when you're used to these G-forces, it's okay. But when you're a passenger and also you're not used to these G-forces, driving alongside here in the electric vehicles can be quite harsh on your bodies, you know. And I feel when I'm being shuttled in electric vehicles, I often tell the driver like, oh, can you drive a little bit slower, or accelerate less harsh and be gentle with the throttle when recuperation is happening? Because so many times now it happened that as a passenger I got sick being driven in electric vehicles. And that's the thing also, that because the shuttle drivers need to get used to it, has a lot to do definitely with the instant torque. So when you're driving people, when you have, a car full of people, and definitely when you're driving, like you're the driver and, driving to the club in the evening or something, and you don't want people to puke all over your vehicle, be gentle with the throttle in both ways, especially because this one here has one pedal driving feeling. If you set it in that way, you can adjust the recuperation. But usually I leave it on a harsh recuperation because, positive thing, safety thing. Here now, reduce the speed, lift your foot off the throttle, reducing the speed, and even in an emergency situation where you change to the brake pedal in this split of a second, you already reduced a lot of your speed. That's definitely very good. So definitely in favor of the one pedal driving feeling of harsh recuperation in general. However, just when you can also control it when you're driving with people in the car. That means when you want to reduce your speed with that one throttle pedal, be gentle, slowly lift it, that your passengers are not going like all the time, and then like, so that's really something you need to watch out. So very important thing here with electric vehicles. Two-stroke in front of us. That's the old word. Yeah. Whoa! That two-stroke almost went over the bars because it almost hit the pavement. Like, yeah, that would have been a very ugly dashcam recording here. Whoa. Yeah. And isn't that something, that scooter here turns the throttle, two-stroke, all the fumes come outside, you're in an electric vehicle, and in this moment you kind of think like, yeah, probably I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, again, no, it's just the locally reduced emissions. The energy has to come from somewhere, but I think the most important aspect is the potential of the electric vehicles. CO2-wise, they're already more sustainable than combustion engines. That's meanwhile clear with all the different studies that have been done. Of course, it also then depends on the use case. What is the most useful car for your use case? But then, of course, you have less with the oil, but more than like with lithium and other mineral mining and so on. This huge problem, definitely. But there's a potential for batteries to become more sustainable, and then the cars are even more sustainable. So I think the potential of electric vehicles, that's what it's all about, definitely. Not what it's like currently, Now in the tunnel, yeah, definitely missing some ambient lighting here. So the thing is, they have improved the build quality so much. If you compare it to the earlier Teslas, that's great. But there are still features missing where you say like, this is a premium car, period. Like the suspension, like ambient lighting, like an instrument or head-up display and so on. Like when the hatch is closing and so like bam, so I want to be closing softly, for example. The old S-Class in front of us here. I'm not sure if you've seen it. So there are still things missing where it's like when I pay like 60k euros in Germany for this vehicle, I want some features to be more premium, you know. Still, it's a car that is a lot of fun. Now driving up Autogefuehl's peak. Wow, the acceleration up the hill. This is amazing. Now I'm using a little bit of the brake. Wow, this is impressive. This is really, it's not the performance version. It's not a sporty vehicle overall, but low center of gravity due to the battery pack. Great acceleration, feels so balanced here. The road is, this is amazing. I mean, usually with this kind of driving fun, this kind of precision on the road, this kind of sporty handling we have with sometimes like, you know, like a Porsche 911 GT3 or something, like with super highly tuned sports cars, and you can have it here in a, let's say, normal electric vehicle, which isn't even one of the biggest and most expensive ones. It's not cheap at all. Talked about that but it's amazing how much driving fun it gives you. And once again, chassis wise, no doubt, this is the best Tesla so far. And I think not only chassis wise, also in so many other respects. And if the German built Model Y will be even better than the Shanghai built Model Y, which is this one here, then maybe I have to think about buying Tesla stocks again. But you know, when I feel suspension, I feel like, better don't buy Tesla stocks. And then when I feel like, you know, how well the car is handling here, also hairpin corner, and how it's getting out of there, and also how efficient it is, and so on, then I'm thinking, maybe it is a good idea to buy Tesla stocks again. Yeah, that's the thing. So you feel that I'm really enthusiastic about this vehicle, and there are things where I really have to say, no way, you know, like this is, here the road is like, do you hear that? The road is so bad here, and then you feel, especially from the rear X, like, and now to the potholes, and this is like really like whoa. And with like the VW ID4 GTX with the DCC adaptive dampers, which are an option of course, this would be, for example, way better, and even better than, you know, when you have like you know, some of the German premium vehicles. So this is no doubt a difference. But other than that, here for example, easing the car around, good rear view camera, back again, some wheel spin. Yeah, this is great. I mean, still having so much fun. And I talked all the way through this review, and sometimes I just do more, you know, like a little bit more editing or something, because there's not more to say to a vehicle. But here with this one, with the Model Y, there's so much to say about this vehicle, and that's also cool, of course. It is still polarizing in a way, and there are things that are so great and things that are not that great, definitely, but that all, you know, that's definitely making a vehicle interesting. And to me also, thing is that I always have that with Teslas, you know, when I have it for a first day, some things that are bugging you say like, you know, maybe I wouldn't buy a Tesla. But then, you know, the longer you drive it, it's like, it's so easy to put an address, and even if you don't use voice input, or oh cool, the supercharging network is still the best, or like, oh, that was really efficient, like, what is this energy consumption? Really so little energy being wasted, and so on. And then you see the progress of like, oh, it's even more silent than 1 year ago when I drove it, and so on. Then it kind of makes you, wait a minute, maybe I should buy a Tesla, you know? This is a very interesting thing, you know, because with, you know, the majority of the other vehicles, like especially when I drive like a German premium car, I say like, oh yeah, this is a very cool car. I can really imagine like having that one. You know, when I drove the BMW Z4 for the first time, and you're like, this is so much fun. I have to get this vehicle. You know, so something like this. You know, but the Tesla is really like this. More like the longer you use it, the more you see the advantages, and then also rather become a fan. You know, like this buying for the why, not for the what, and swipe away some of the disadvantages that still have. And I can just stress again, I mean, we have grey roads here today and hardly any traffic. I pick this time of the day in the evening to have good light, soft light, and also empty roads. And this is the most fun I ever had in a Tesla by far. And it's not the lowest Tesla, it's not the most powerful Tesla. Once again, it's the best Tesla out there is at this moment. Of course, we have more Tesla reviews for you, like the Model 3 versus the Polestar 2, for example, or then the Tesla Model S review, or what about the competitor of this one here, ID.4 GTX. This one, of course, you should tune into.